Yes, come on! Chelsea 2, Fluminense 0. Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And we did it! We are into the final of the Club World Cup. Oh man, that's wicked, isn't it? After quite a tumultuous season, it is awesome to just see the team playing well. And I know, we haven't had the hardest run to get up here, but let me bask in the moment. So, Chelsea 2, Fluminense 0. It was a great game with a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. Okay, so starting with the lineups, weirdly enough, I was actually super close. Formationally, it was a bit different, but I was actually only one player out. So we lined up with Sanchez in goal, Gusto at right back, Trevor Chalobah and Tosin Adarabioyo as centre backs, Marc Cucurella on the left, Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez in the deeper midfield roles, an attacking three of Christopher Nkunku, Cole Palmer and Pedro Neto. And up top started Joao Pedro, and boy, what a game did this guy have. So just to talk a little bit about the setup in general, it looked like Christopher Nkunku was going to be starting out on the left because that's where we've seen him primarily when he gets played in that attacking three. But for the most part, it was actually Pedro Neto out on the left and Nkunku was handling the right. Pedro Neto had a really, really good game and is showing me even more, even though I'm not convinced about selling Noni Madueke, he hasn't reached that same kind of level as Pedro Neto has, and he's been in the team for longer. Pedro Neto does it on the left, he does it on the right, he does a job at centre forward when we've got no other options, and he had another wicked game. Cole Palmer is really starting to look back to his best. No goals today, but that doesn't matter because he played really, really well. He was connecting things together. And yeah, there's a bit more to get into with player performance stuff, but Cole Palmer's looking really good as well. So tactically, it was kind of as I envisioned. Cucurella essentially played majoritively as like a left-sided centre-back, going up a little bit, but not too much. He was a lot more reserved than he can be, when he's flying all over the place, playing in midfield and left wing or whatever. But as always, he did an awesome, awesome job. Malo Gusto actually also a bit less crazy than he was in the Palmeiras game. He wasn't playing left wing, centre attack, shadow striker, wherever. He was inverting into midfield and he was pushing up, but it definitely was a bit more of a reserved performance from him. And he seemed to have really benefited from that. Now, I've given Malo Gusto a lot of stick recently. I'll be completely honest about that. It can be really, really frustrating watching him be on the ball so much and flat to deceive when it comes to those final moments. Now, again, although he didn't make anything happen as far as numbers go in this game, it does look like he's starting to refine that decision-making thing and that technique to try and get that final ball off. Basically, what I'm saying is his shooting looks like it's starting to get better. Still not quite there, but he was just a hair off in a couple of shots today, man. And do you know what? If we can unlock that from Malo Gusto, if we can get all of the stuff from him where he's running around and got loads of energy and being everywhere, but he can add some final product to that, then yeah, wicked. I think that makes him an awesome player to have in the team. So for the omissions, of course, Levi Colwill and Liam Delap were suspended. Reece James was on the bench, although he didn't start, and he did come on later in the game, so that's cool because it means he's not super injured. We are just being precautious with him. And Nicholas Jackson also was on the bench and got a good chunk of minutes towards the end of the game. Noni Madueke did also feature, and I've got no idea what's going on with this at the moment, because if we're playing Christopher Nkunku over Noni Madueke on the right wing, that's not a tactical thing, is it? That's not a tactical thing. Noni Madueke's head is obviously all wrapped up in this Arsenal move. I haven't heard anything else about it since my last video. To say Christopher Nkunku's barely started games for us in our biggest games throughout the entire season, and even though we're looking at selling him, rumours about Bayern Munich being interested now, by the way, we're starting him on the right over Noni Madueke, and that's got to tell you that Noni Madueke's head probably just isn't in the right place, and maybe he's got 1 foot out of the door. Although we did come on to feature for some minutes later in the game, I imagine that helps him to stay fit or whatever, and maybe we need him in the final, who knows. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of narrative going on around our team selection at the moment, and I found the Noni Madueke, Christopher Nkunku right wing situation to be quite a perplexing one. So let's talk about Fluminense. Thiago Silva is still wicked, isn't he? He is 40, but he's still got it, man. And you know what? Props to the keeper as well. 44 years old. Really, really good. But yeah, so for the first 20, 25 minutes of the game, we were playing this super, super high line, man. Like our back three was just sitting on the halfway line. And we were just consistently playing in their box. And what I think that was to do with something that I talked about in my preview. So Fluminense in this competition have scored the majority of all of their goals after the 70th minute. So what I was assuming we would want to do would be need to get out of the gates quickly, get a few goals in as soon as possible, and put as much pressure on them as we could early in the game, so we didn't find ourselves in a situation where it was 1-0 or 1-1 somewhere towards that later part of the game where they are known to be able to find some magic and come back and put a goal past you. So yeah, it was a really, really high press. It was fast, it was aggressive, and it was cool. And ultimately was rewarded by Joao Pedro's first goal in a Chelsea shirt, and it was a blinder. It wasn't even really like a striker goal. So the thing with Joao Pedro is he's really comfortable in lots of different positions, and after today's game, we are seeing that in droves. The whole move was absolutely beautiful. So Joao Pedro was in a sort of slightly deep left pocket kind of position, and he backheeled a ball to Pedro Neto, who beautifully just picked it up, took it round the left, passed it back into Joao Pedro, who was a good 15, 18 yards away from the goal, still hanging on this left-hand side, and he curled in an absolute screamer. Oh, mate, it was such a good goal. Do you know what? We are scoring some wicked goals in this tournament, man. It is nice to finally see some proper magic, some flair, some moments that get you off your seat, and it's not just, you know, we got a goal. It was, wow, man, we are arriving in style, and Joao Pedro did that today. He arrived in style. That goal was phenomenal. He played an enormous part in the setup, took the ball amazingly well from Pedro Neto, kept calm, kept composed. It was pretty outrageous, but he just went for it and it went in, and yes! Oh man, do you know what? Nicholas Jackson and Liam Delap are going to be looking at that being like, oh dear. So yeah, Fluminense, as expected, played pretty compact and low for the most part of the game and looked their most dangerous when they were on some sort of transition. Now that brings me to talk about Robert Sanchez. Now Robert Sanchez, for the most part, has had a really good tournament, but today was just another reason why, do you know what, every time I get a little bit close to thinking, maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if we had to keep him for the next season. But do you know what? It would. It really would. It didn't cost us anything today, which we are lucky for, because Robert Sanchez had another one of those moments where he made a strange decision and had made his team have to work really hard around him to clean up after him. And I was just like, oh man, I literally cannot do another whole season with Robert Sanchez in goal. He's not terrible. He's kind of like Kepa was in the first year. Do you know what I mean? It's like for 70 to 80% of the game, he's kind of there, but he just switches off, man. He just switches off and just forgets where he is, and just like, it's like, oh, I'm actually in the middle of a football match and I've got a really important decision to make right now. And he just makes these really random, arbitrary goalkeeping decisions about where to pass it or how to deal with a ball that's come to him. And it just puts us under loads of pressure when it doesn't need to. And do you know what? Let's just put Marc Cucurella as the goalkeeper, because apparently that's something he can do as well. Marc Cucurella made the most excellent goal line clearance today. Oh man, he got back. It was literally just going over the line. Marc Cucurella gets right back there and clears it. Honestly, Marc Cucurella is probably a better goalkeeper than Robert Sanchez. I'm not even joking. We already know Cucurella can play everywhere, so it stands to reason that he'd probably do a reasonable job in the goalkeeper spot as well, just with his feet. Obviously, I'm joking. I don't actually think Cucurella can be a goalkeeper, but that off the line clearance was amazing. Cucurella again proving game after game why he is so valuable to us, why he is so important. And do you know what? The better he gets, the more I'm actually like, we really need a backup for this guy, man. Because can you imagine if we lose Cucurella for an extended period? If we lose Cucurella for 2 or 3 months, that'd be awful. It was a little bit of a different game in the second half. We weren't pushing up quite so high, and they weren't sitting quite so deep. There was definitely a bit more to and fro in the second half. You know, obviously the Fluminense manager would probably have gone in and giving his team a real talking to at halftime, and it seems like it worked because it never really felt super dangerous, like we could concede at any moment, but they definitely came out with a bit more attacking intent and a bit more passion, a bit more gusto, if you will. And yeah, it made the second half tricky. And I think fatigue is starting to be a bit of a thing as well. You know, for a lot of these guys, we are literally talking about, this is, you know, as if they just played a Euros competition, then a full season, and then another Euros competition. And this is like the first time we've tacked on this really high intensity football tournament in this period where there's no international tournament. And I think you're starting to be able to see it. And not just because of the fatigue, but also because it's so hot, right? It's literally so hot out there right now. That's going to be affecting a lot of these players as well. Even the South Americans that are used to playing in warmer climates, if you will, they, you know, regardless, they've been playing in, London and the UK for the last season or two. So, so they've maybe started to adapt to our weather, and coming back into this intense heat to play football all the time, it's not just going to be easy to do. So Joao Pedro was subbed off on the 60th minute and replaced by Nicholas Jackson, who looked like he really wanted to prove himself, and I'll admit, almost to a detriment. There was one particular moment I remember where he was kind of making a run from the left. Cole Palmer was in the centre, and there was a really easy opportunity to pass to Cole Palmer, and he probably would have buried it, but Nicholas Jackson instead chose to go for the shot. And it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I get it to an extent. He's seeing Liam Delap come in and score a goal and get an assist, and, despite his having a bad last game, playing pretty well in general, and Joao Pedro's come in less than 90 minutes over 2 games and just looked unplayable. I don't know whether Nicholas Jackson wants to leave Chelsea. Obviously, he's the only one that actually knows that, but he's playing like he doesn't want to go. And like I say, that is not necessarily a good thing, because what he could have done is potentially had us 3 up and had an assist to his name, which shows that he's there playing for the team. But no, he chose to go for the much more difficult decision in that situation, which was to go for the goal, and it just didn't come off. So, not an amazing showing from Nicholas Jackson. He always looks kind of good, right? But it's probably not easy. He's maybe lacking a little bit of match fitness now because he missed the end of last season. He'd only played basically the conference final and the few bits and bobs in the Club World Cup until he got banned for 2 games, and then missed the last game anyway, even though he was available. There's a lot to figure out with Jackson, isn't there? That's the truth. Based on his performance today, I think it is reasonably safe to say that Joao Pedro is probably going to start for us in the final. Noni Madueke came on for Pedro Neto and again played on the left wing. So, up until the Jamie Gittins experiment starts, it seems like Maresca is saying, I want left footers on my left wing because that's what we've got at the moment. That is where Noni played. Again, didn't make anything amazing happen. I'm still really surprised that he didn't start, do you know what I mean, over Christopher Nkunku. Whatever, man, I guess we're going to figure that one out before long. And in the dying embers, we saw brief cameos from Andre Santos and Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, who had a fair 12 minutes, because what was it, 6 minutes extra time? So yeah, like 10, 12 minutes, something like that, because it actually went up to like 10 minutes. It was crazy. It was only 6 minutes of extra time, but the clock kept on going until 10. But yeah, not really enough time to get a foothold in the game or make anything happen. Still, I'm happy to see Andre Santos on the pitch. He had a great game against Palmeiras. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall was put out on the right wing. So that is, that's obviously just a filler moment, isn't it? That's not like, oh, Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall's getting minutes. Like, it's no, we just need someone to put out on the right wing. Like Noni, I probably expect Kiernan Dewsbury to be sold to like a West Ham or something. So, really, really good performance. You can see how when we've got all of our players back, everyone's feeling a bit fit. We've got our new signings in and maybe even some more new signings. How this team is really going to start to click together. I'm not going to get too excited about Joao Pedro yet because it is the Club World Cup and it is against a Brazilian side, which, don't get me wrong, the Brazilian sides have been really good. But for instance, the test is going to be what's coming up next, and that is the final. Now, tomorrow marks the semi-final match between Real Madrid and PSG. Now, in any normal given circumstance, you'd probably give that to Real Madrid, but PSG have been formidable recently. They have had an amazing season. Luis Enrique has put a really, really strong team together, and they've got a really defined style, and everyone knows their roles, and they're doing this whole strikerless thing, and it's really working for them. Real Madrid have had a lot of changes at the moment. Obviously, they've got a new manager. Some of their older players are, kind of being phased out, and they've got newer players like Trent that have just come in. They're still trying to figure out how do they fit Mbappe, Vinny, and Rodrigo, and whoever else, and Jude Bellingham all into the, same formation together. And I don't think they're quite there yet. So if I'm completely honest, in my heart of hearts, I think PSG will take it. Now, Real Madrid are Real Madrid, so anything can happen, right? Jude Bellingham can score a bicycle kick, or Vinny can get a hat-trick, or maybe Trent Alexander-Arnold gets some worldy assist that wins them the game. They've got so many players in their team that can create moments of magic that you absolutely can't write them off. But this has been quite an intense inaugural competition for new manager Xabi Alonso to get his teeth into. Whereas Luis Enrique has obviously had a lot of time to put his team together, and they've just come off of the back of a really successful season. So the way it looks to me is Xabi Alonso's probably not exactly got his footprint on the tactics yet. So it feels like it's going to be a bit of a matchup of Real Madrid's potential magic against PSG's now quite ingrained tactical setup, and they all know each other and they know what they need to do and they know who their danger men are, and do you know what I mean? It's a very different kind of thing. But like I said, Madrid can do anything on any day, so it's not a given, but I do think we'll be facing PSG in the final. So the final awaits. This is kind of reminiscent of England's last few international tournaments, isn't it? We have had relatively beatable opposition up until the final, and then the final is normally the first time we've been put in front of someone that obviously a massive barrier. And I mean that with all the most respect in the world to all of the teams that we've played, but you will know what I mean, right? I'm not saying Chelsea are better than all of these teams. I'm just saying on the balance of it, based on the money we've spent and the titles that have been won and the financial structure and power that is behind Chelsea, you would expect them to win the majority of these games. So it's going to be, ostensibly, if we go up against PSG or Real Madrid, I actually kind of fancy my chances against Real Madrid a little bit more at the moment, just because they're in a much earlier stage of transition than PSG are. Going up against PSG at the moment is going up against a well-oiled machine. We came out of the other end of the Premier League pretty well last season, just getting into fourth on the last day, but in Europe we didn't play anyone better than Real Betis and we beat them 4-1. So this is the first real massive test in an intense competitive match against a European superpower. But yeah, man, scary this one. It's scary this one, isn't it? Joao Pedro scoring 2 goals in this game bodes really well. Cole Palmer starting to find his form again also bodes really well. But we're just going to have to see, aren't we? We're just going to have to see. Either way, let's forget about that right now because we've just come out of a comprehensive win against a tough side. The team's looking great. There's a lot of positive things to focus on and I personally am buzzing. If you're enjoying the content and you would like to see more, please do me the distinct honour of liking or sharing the video or subscribing to the channel or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. As ever, I will be keeping my ear to the ground for any more Chelsea news that comes out of the woodworks and I will get it to you as soon as I can. Nice one, guys. Up next, the final. Take it easy. Hope you're having a wicked day. Peace.